kicked my sister out of the house after she woke my baby up while coming home. There are moments in life when the smallest actions trigger the biggest emotions. This story is one of those moments, where a seemingly simple event spiraled into something far more significant than anyone could have anticipated. It had been a long day. My baby had finally fallen asleep after what felt like hours of crying, feeding, and rocking. As a new parent, I was exhausted mentally and physically. Anyone who's been through those early months knows that the peace and quiet when your baby finally dozes off is like gold. It's rare, and you treasure every second. That night, I sat down on the couch, breathing a sigh of relief, letting the silence wrap around me. I closed my eyes for just a moment, savoring the calm. But that peace didn't last long. Suddenly, I heard the front door slam open. My sister had come home. She had been staying with us temporarily, something I had been fine with initially, but her lifestyle didn't exactly fit with ours. She loved going out late, coming back at odd hours, and making noise without thinking twice. And tonight, her entrance was anything but subtle. I immediately felt my pulse quicken. My heart sank as I heard the faint but unmistakable sound of my baby stirring. My sister, oblivious, stomped down the hallway, dropping her bags with a loud thud. I froze, praying that somehow my baby would stay asleep. But within seconds, the inevitable happened. The crying started. I rushed to the baby's room, trying to calm him down. My frustration was bubbling up inside me, but I kept my focus on my child. I gently rocked him, whispering lullabies, hoping to settle him down. But he was fully awake now, and it was going to be another long battle to get him back to sleep. By the time I got him settled again, my exhaustion had turned into anger. I walked out of the room, determined to confront my sister. When I found her casually sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone, it took everything in me not to explode. "Do you have any idea what you just did?" I asked, my voice barely controlled. She looked up confused. "What do you mean?" "You woke the baby." I snapped. "You slammed the door, made all that noise, and now I've been up for another hour trying to calm him down." Instead of apologizing, she shrugged. "I didn't mean to. It's not a big deal." Those words hit me harder than I expected. Not a big deal? I had spent the last few months running on minimal sleep, trying to keep up with the demands of motherhood, and she couldn't even acknowledge the impact of her actions. My patience had run out. I looked her straight in the eye and said, "You need to leave." At first, she thought I was joking. "Come on, you can't be serious." But I was. I was dead serious. "You don't understand what it's like. I'm barely keeping it together, and you can't just keep ignoring the fact that there's a baby in this house. I can't do this anymore." Her expression shifted from disbelief to anger. "You're really going to kick me out over this? I'm your sister." I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "I love you, but right now I have to think about my baby. He comes first. You've been here for weeks, and it's clear you're not adjusting to our routines. I need you to leave for the sake of my own sanity." She stood up, her face red with frustration. "Fine. If that's how you feel, I'll go." There was a tension in the air as she packed her things. I could feel the weight of the decision I had just made, but I didn't back down. I knew that I had reached my limit. My sister left that night, slamming the door behind her just as loudly as she had when she came in. The silence that followed felt different this time. It wasn't peaceful. It was heavy. As I sat down, I wondered if I had overreacted. Was I too harsh? Should I have handled things differently? But deep down, I knew I did what I had to do as a mother. In the days that followed, I struggled with the fallout. My sister and I didn't talk for a while, and I missed her. But I also knew that boundaries had to be set. My priorities had shifted the moment I became a parent. And while family is important, my baby's well-being had to come first. Eventually, my sister and I had a heart-to-heart. We both said things we didn't mean that night. She admitted that she didn't fully understand how hard it was for me as a new mother, and I acknowledged that I could have communicated better before things escalated. It wasn't an easy conversation, but it was necessary. In the end, we came to an understanding. She didn't move back in, but our relationship began to heal. The incident taught me that being a parent means making difficult decisions, sometimes even ones that hurt. But it also showed me the importance of setting boundaries, even with those we love. Looking back, I don't regret what I did. I had to make a choice between keeping the peace in my home and keeping the peace within my family. And in that moment, my baby's needs had to come first. That's what being a parent is all about. Making the tough calls and putting your child's well-being above everything else. There are moments in life when one small event turns into a whirlwind of emotions. This story is about one such moment, where a single incident ended up challenging family bonds, testing patience, and ultimately reshaping my understanding of priorities. It had been one of those nights. You know, the kind where you're running on fumes, every muscle in your body aches, and you're so sleep-deprived that you can barely think straight. My baby had finally fallen asleep. I had spent hours trying to soothe him, feeding, rocking, singing lullabies, and after what felt like an eternity, he was peacefully asleep in his crib. The house was quiet, and in that silence, I found a rare moment of peace for myself. I sat down on the couch, exhaled deeply, and for a brief moment, I felt like I could breathe again. My eyes started to close from sheer exhaustion, but that calm didn't last long. Suddenly, the front door flew open with a bang. The sound echoed through the hallway, and I felt my heart sink. It was my sister. She had been staying with us for a while after some personal issues left her needing a place to crash. I welcomed her into our home because she was family, my sister. But what I hadn't anticipated was how difficult it would be to have someone else's routine clash with mine, especially now that I had a newborn to care for. I cringed as I heard the heavy thud of her shoes hitting the floor and the rustling of her bags as she tossed them down. She had no idea how much noise she was making or how fragile this quiet moment was for me. Then, as if on cue, my baby stirred in the next room. The soft rustle of sheets was the first sound. Then came the dreaded cry. It started quietly, a whimper, but it quickly grew louder. My heart sank further. I knew what was coming. A long night of trying to calm my baby down again, all because of one careless moment. I rushed to the nursery, hoping, praying that I could soothe him quickly. But by the time I got there, he was fully awake, crying loudly. The frustration I felt was unlike anything I had experienced before. I spent the next hour rocking him, whispering, pacing back and forth in the dim light of his room. Every minute felt like an eternity. By the time I got him back to sleep, I was physically and emotionally drained. And I was angry. I was furious. My sister didn't understand what it meant to be a parent, what it took to get a baby to sleep,